Have you seen yourself on Alibaba yet?
Fake barbell.
There's fake barbell stuff?
You didn't see that?
There's been fake barbell.
They're using pictures of you to sell it.
No way.
Oh, awesome.
Congrats, bro.
I've seen barbell stuff show up on eBay and stuff.
Oh, that's my eBay account. And we are back again with a sick-ass episode of The Careful Boys, and today we are blessed still to have BD here with us. Okay, so of course it's very natural. We are all learning boys, and we're so honored to have you here. We can't just talk about all your successes. We want to ask about some of the biggest setbacks, hardships, or failures that you feel like you've experienced as well in your journey.
Never been any.
Oh, that's a professional. We suck.
That's hardcore. Yeah. Imagine. Be serious. That'd be so sick, though.
I was born just moonwalking.
Just immaculate.
What the?
Obviously, for me, probably the biggest setback issue. So I kind of mentioned earlier. So that 08-09 recession kind of rocked a lot of businesses in the U.S. That hit us really hard. It kind of like dominoed with like some of our retailers starting to file bankruptcy. Damn. They file bankruptcy, then all of a sudden we lose those receivables that they owe us, and they're like, okay. So we had a couple file really quick. I want to say it was like late 08, early 09, which was pretty huge because we had probably lost like $1 million in receivables like really fast. And then,
can we ask some specifics
about who they were?
Yeah,
I'd say it was a retailer in Southern California.
Like a Tilly's or Active or a Valser.
That was
Tilly's hung on. Right?
Zoomies.
Department store?
That was
Zoomies
Active.
Was still
so Active.
Yeah. Oh, Active. They did file Chapter 11. Remember that.
Also, the vendors, like, the retailer's done, so then they couldn't even buy from you guys anymore.
Well, they owe them, so they couldn't even pay them.
Because a lot of the accounts are often like net 30 to 90, so they'll have your product, but they can't pay it out.
So and that's kind of a part of U.S. business and what bankruptcy protection is. So you essentially walk away as a business owner from any of your unsecured debt, and you still are on the hook for any of your secured debt. So any of your receivables are typically unsecured unless they're factored. So once somebody files, if they owe you, say, $1 million, then you maybe will get 5 cents on the dollar.
Holy.
So fast forward,
you could create a chain reaction, which it did.
Kind of hit that. And I mean, you guys remember that time. It was crazy with like housing and everything. So that rolled into retail. Retail got really tough. PacSun at the time used to do a lot of footwear. I want to say we were doing somewhere in the neighborhood of probably about $10 million a year with them in footwear. And then
just with them?
Yeah. And then they decided that they're not doing footwear anymore. They're going to focus on apparel. So then you take like a large chunk of sales just like gone. And then it was 09 and B of A, right? They were in all their issues and they were essentially should have been filing bankruptcy. The government bailed them out. And then what they did was they focused on companies with small business loans. That was kind of one of their objectives is like, hey, we're going to clean up for them, clean up their balance sheet and kind of try to remove any of the debt with small business loans, which for them would kind of be loans between like 10 and 30 million. And we kind of sat right in the middle of that. So we ran into a lot of issues with them. And that kind of went on 09, 10, and they just drained the living shit out of us. I mean, that's like, was probably the worst time ever, like working with a large financial partner that just absolutely just drilled us. So we kind of fast forward, and then 11, we were very active about trying to find a new business partner, similar to what you were trying to do on Barbell. We had a little more like business than that, is like that we're trying to sell. But which is really tricky when you're trying to sell your business and the sales have decreased, your bank's on your back, it's a tricky sell. So we spent most of 11 trying to find a buyer for DVS and Maddox. We ended up finding a buyer, and then kind of last minute that buyer had pulled out, and we really had no other way to go than to file bankruptcy. So we ended up going and filing, and the way it works, we filed in a way that basically creates like a bidding auction, right? So we still had business. There was our IP for the brands was valuable. So basically what happens is you go in, you kind of gather with, an investment banker, a group of people potentially that would want to purchase you. And then it starts out just as like auction kind of bidding at a certain amount. And then these businesses are basically bidding on your business.
And are they buying it like kind of lower discount because you are?
Oh yeah, because you're distressed. Yeah. So the banks.
It's like a house foreclosure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the bank is there, which was our secured creditor, and then you had, I don't know, call it a dozen or 15 or so people bidding on it.
Are they mostly like private equities and stuff, or like what kind of groups?
Yeah, they're kind of like, usually those you kind of will call like more like bottom feeder kind of people. Like there was a couple action sports guys, which was really cool, that really wanted the brands to take the brands, but majority of them were other, kind of like bigger conglomerates.
Yeah.
A lot of them like to just, kind of take them, own the IP, and then they can take it to kind of downstairs business, which would be
like you'll be in Kmart or something.
Yeah, like Ross, TJ Maxx, and they just license it, and it's a good business, know.
When I first met with him and his other business partner, his specific word that he would call the private equity guys, fucking leeches. That's why it made me laugh. He's like, they're gonna come in and just fuck everything you built, just fucking burn it all.
They don't care about longevity.
Oh. And at that point, are they coming in and bidding to take 100% of the company, or do you still have to stay on for a certain period of time?
So no, the way those work or the way it worked for us is, so they're coming in to bid on it. It was like one day it's almost in like kind of a meeting room kind of thing in a hotel, and then once you kind of finish that day with like a bidder, then the next day you actually do it in court. So you go to court, it's official. Wow. The good thing in our scenario for this is it finished in kind of the meeting day, and then it went to court, and then the judge will actually ask, is anybody, basically they still keep it open. There's kind of one last shot, and which worked out well for us is like there became this kind of bidding war with two companies in court, which was huge for us because as they kind of bid on, and this went on all day long.
So it went higher and higher?
Yeah, and so it got to a point where it basically, the thing that it does, it cleared all of the secured debt, and then any additional goes into unsecured, right? So then that goes into like unsecured. So, in the end, in the scenario, not great personally, but at the end of the day, I learned, I'd say, a huge life lesson of something you don't really want to learn, but you kind of have to in a short amount of time. And and then literally go the next day. It had got purchased by Sequential Brands, which is no longer now, but they owned a bunch of stuff. And then literally they came to the office the next day and introduced themselves, cool guys. I was kind of already had made up my mind that with whatever group, for the most part, I would say whatever group, I'd made up my mind after that the next day, and they came in and we had our initial conversation. They essentially are going to own the businesses now, and probably about a half hour into it, I asked my brothers, I said, hey, can you guys excuse us? I stepped out with both my brothers and I just said, hey guys, I'm out. You guys could kind of stay on. I'll kind of frame it up, do what you want to do.
You decided you're just done with it?
So we came back in and I was like, you guys, it's great to meet you guys. I'm going to step out. And so anyways, I did that. I just kind of like, I just felt like I needed to do something else. And I'd worked on this kind of a certain way for so long, and not that I was like stuck in my ways, but I'm like, I just don't see me like wanting to work with this new group.
Yeah.
You know?
What up, guys? Thank you for watching us for so long. If you like what we do, please support our Patreon. Joe, tell them what we have to offer.
So every week you get 2 videos. One never released director's cut, and another one 2 half for YouTube, Patreon only. Every freaking week you get that, and you get access to our Discord where you can come chat with us.
And ask us questions that become episodes here, because we're gonna answer them and we're gonna take it seriously, and we wanna give you the responses that you want. So come stay connected with us, join our Patreon, click the description below for full details.
Before the lesson learned, and as it was like getting to that point where you even had to make the decision where it's like, hey, we gotta file for bankruptcy or to sell off this company, like where were you emotionally and mentally?
Kind of, it was pretty tricky, you know. There was a lot, kind of in those months. Just there's so much kind of that was built. These brands was like, it was like our blood. I mean, that's what we did. Like that was like our identity. So that part was really tricky. I think I got kind of stuck in just like, I need to figure out how to get through this bankruptcy piece. And I don't say I had blinders on, but I was just like very heavily focused on that. And that's why it was so easy for me to get to that meeting and make a quick decision of like, I really had nothing else planned, but I was like, I know I don't want to do this. But yeah, I think I was, you know, it was definitely a very difficult like time in my brain of just like kind of processing everything. And I just kind of made this kind of gut decision of like, I'm going to step away. But within like not even a week, within a couple days, I had been already working with Mike West, which owns 686. You know Mike?
Yeah, I met. It was the fun. I met him at one of Bobby's parties.
Okay.
And then we're just talking, and then there's just another guy sitting at like a table, and then I forgot how we got to talk, and then I was probably all sad. Like, oh, what's the buy bar? Okay, or whatever. and then he was started. Then he mentioned, he's like, oh, you know what? You should talk to this guy. And I'm like, this guy. He goes, yeah. And the lawyer. And then that's how we found out that our connection was you.
Yeah.
And then so like Mike West bought BD's company, and I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. What a small world.
Yeah. So I met up with Mike like really quick, and Mike had very well established snowboard outerwear brand, which he had started in the early 90s. I mean, at my store, I was buying his brand, and then he was looking for a way to kind of balance snow outerwear business with, you know, apparel's typically year round. So anyways, within like literally a week, we teamed up. He went to Sequential. He bought Maddox from them, and then I had brought kind of a crew over that I had on the Maddox side over to 686, which their umbrella company is called Westlife.
Wait, so you saying you had to sell your company to Sequential, and then you met a dude who was bigger and richer, and they came over to Sequential and bought some shit from them?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So then
So you kind of got your brand back in a way, or?
Yeah, so Mike purchased it, which, you know, we went it together, and then I came over to Westlife, which is 686, to operate it under Westlife. And then we worked on it from like 2012 through like 2016, and then we ended up first we were trying to sell it, and then we ended up licensing it in 2017 to Thread Collective in Canada. So
where were your brothers in that situation?
So they stayed on with the new people that purchased DVS, maybe for 6 or 8 months, and then they ended up getting let go from there. And then they went over and they started a blank T-shirt company called Mill 42. So, you know, just like buying blanks and stuff. So they ran that business for, I don't know, another 5 years or something. Now they're kind of out of the apparel space. But yeah, they went from that to doing apparel stuff.
Did you step out in that fateful meeting when Sequential came over? Did that affect your relationship with your brothers or anything?
No, not at all.
They were just cool with you, like, not wanting to do it anymore?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, we had gone through so much at that time. I don't think it was, you know what I mean? I think they're more like, yo, what are you going to do? And I was like, fuck, I don't know.
What if it was like
Figure
that
it
in that meeting? All three of you guys were like, "I don't want to come back." Then what would have happened?
We probably would have had a lot more like negotiating power at that moment. Just because, you know.
Because they need you still.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to figure out when you're like running a business. Whether you're doing it right or wrong, there's still a lot to figure out.
Looking back, when you know what happened was pretty much the economy, but do you go, oh man, what I know now, this is how we could have kept going or saved it. Do you know like?
You know, I think with a business, especially when you get at that kind of level and you have that amount of employees and staff, and as trends start to change, or you know, so with the economy, what you saw really quick, right? So we were selling, say, shoes, you know, that were $75 to $90 retail, right? All of a sudden, people want to buy shoes that are like $50 to $60, right? So just like everything kind of changes, and I think the biggest thing you learn is like you got to react quickly. You can't wait, you know, which sucks because, you know, a lot of your expenses with a business typically are overhead, right? And the last thing you want to do is like, yo, I gotta let Bart go. You know what I mean? But I think one of those things, it's real tricky because you got to kind of like level set quickly, and you know, and then I think along with that, you also have to make sure, do you have the right product going into whatever this new era of recession is? Do you have the right marketing? Like, you know, but I think just being able to react quickly is probably the biggest learning lesson.
Can you say at your guys' peak what you guys were grossing annually?
I think their largest year, like combined with brands, were like 115.
115 million?
Jeez.
That's crazy. Do you feel like the bigger that businesses go, the more you have to consider with like macroeconomics, and is that something that you kind of take into consideration now, like when you plan for
and
stuff?
not just in the U.S. too. I mean, we're selling, you know, kind of all over, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things just with, you know, the dollar. Like there's everything that
foreign currency exchange.
Yeah, that kind of starts to affect what you're doing. So I mean, the U.S. is kind of one thing, but once you start doing that kind of business globally, then you're like having to watch what's going on in all the economies, you know.
Dude, that's 9 figures in 2007, right? And prior to.
At that, when we hit that would have been like probably 08, I'd say, if I think. 07, 08, well, yeah, it was one of those years. Was kind of the biggest, right before everything kind of like.
That was all your companies combined?
That was the 3, yeah.
I see.
Well, did you ever have to deal with like counterfeiting?
Yeah, but it wasn't that huge, you know. And it would pretty much be more like, you know, stuff in China, and we really didn't have like retail or distribution there, so it wasn't really affecting a lot. It would just be there's stuff in the market.
Ah, okay.
But it wasn't like if it was here and you have stuff in the market. But there wasn't that much of it, which maybe says it wasn't that popular, huh? That's when you know you hit it good, when you got a lot of counterfeit.
Yeah. He has a lot of it now. Have you seen yourself on Alibaba yet?
Fake barbell?
There's fake barbell stuff?
You didn't see
There's
that?
been fake barbell.
They're
for a
using
minute.
pictures of you to sell it.
No way.
Oh, awesome.
Congrats, bro.
Lives on.
I've seen barbell stuff show up on eBay and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
People reselling?
Oh, that's my eBay account.
Anthony Lee Ford, it was me.
Yeah. Yeah, they turned it up. And there's product reviews on them too. And people are like, it's actually kind of close to the real thing.
That's a good review. That's an honest review.
What are they doing on that site? That's tight.